Okay, so nobody's getting the truth from the mainstream media, folks. It's well past time to open your eyes, your ears, and your mind. Do your own research because something isn't right here. And if you can't see that, you are not paying attention, folks.
It's the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order. A world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations.
So let's look at each one of these and see how we can get this down to zero. Probably one of these numbers is going to have to get pretty near to zero. Now that's back from high school algebra, but let's take a look. First, we've got population. The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
The important message that we need Australians to get vaccinated as quickly as possible. In line with that, I do encourage all Australians to please go and book your vaccinations as soon as you can if you haven't already done so.
Emma, get away!
When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
Okay, we need to stand up against this tyranny, folks. Stop giving away your freedoms and liberties, because the more you give up, the more these people will take until you have absolutely nothing left. That's their agenda.
Yeah. All right. Good morning, Australia, and around the world. If you're clicking in, share it out, guys. It's an impromptu Sunday morning. Horrible weekend here in Australia. Very cold, lazy weekend, and I think a few people will be around. But there's something. I got some people on with me today. Cazz is here, and we got a special guest, and that special guest is I won't bring him on yet, but it's Bishop Jim O'Connor from the USA, guys. You've seen him on shows with me and Charlotte and him have done shows. Jim's been on with me in the USA. And, we just want to, talk to everyone about actual truth and communication within the freedom movement, guys, because what happens when we don't get communication, we may have truth, but if we don't get communication, what we do is we leave things open to people's discernment, okay? And if the communication is shut down and it's something that people are looking at and the communication stops, well, then what do? We go off on a tangent and we try and create our own little reality on what we think is happening. And it's called perception. Okay, but perception's not truth. So what we want to do is go into a bit of a discussion today with Cazz here because, we've had stuff going on in Australia, and I think it's important, guys, that we can bring these conversations, right, into the open, right, and actually have them. And you guys have got questions. Mel's not here, but I'll certainly try and keep up with the questions in there, guys. So I want everyone to get involved in this show, all right? If you would like to come on the show, put it in the comment, and I'll drop the link into the comments, guys, all right? But this is just about our truth and communication, all right? How we can go forward, how we can communicate better, and how we can use the truth without it having an effect or a detrimental effect on other people. I think this is what we're trying to look at here. So let's bring in Cazz. Let's bring in Jim. I think that's enough intro. But good morning, Cazz. Good morning, Jim. How are you?
Yeah, good. How are you?
Oh, good morning, Dave. Good morning, Cazz. Good morning, Australia.
Okay, so where do we go from here, Jim? Touchy topic. Let's let the bishop enter us into the conversation. We got the same worldwide.
You know, the only way that they can destroy your freedom movement is the same way, the only way they can destroy the freedom movement in the United States and everywhere else in the world. They cannot beat us with the arguments they have about freedom and who should control people. We all have a God-given right to be free and to make our choices and to live in peace and harmony. These are God-given rights, not rights given by government. But the only way they can stop the movement is have people, the leaders in the movement, not communicating and misunderstanding and basically squabbling amongst themselves. And when they can't beat your argument, then they infiltrate with disharmony so that they can destroy you. We don't think exactly the same way the evil ones do. We tend to play with good rules and fair play. For them, the end justifies the means. Whatever they do that helps them with their cause, whether it's murdering someone or murdering someone's reputation or causing two friends not to get along because they do dirty tricks, to them, that's the definition of good. And they don't really understand who they're working for. They're working for Satan. Satan has wanted to kill mankind and wipe mankind off the earth since Adam and Eve walked the earth. And he hasn't given up on that, because when he loses, he goes to hell. He'll do anything to stay out of hell except repent. And that goes for all his minions too. And these suckers, and I mean suckers, that follow the devil and believe his promises have no idea who they're really dealing with. And the fact that all this chaos they're trying to create, all this fear porn, all this garbage, if you think about it and you understand that they can't beat the argument of the Australia One Freedom Party and what it would actually do for all the people in Australia and set an example for all the people in the world, they can't beat that argument, because the argument is so good, so sound, so generous, so kind, that they have to try to cause great disharmony in those among the movement, and they'll do any dirty trick to cause that. And when everyone understands that, who are the important key people leading this movement, then you can overcome what they're doing.
Well, how do you, what, with the communication thing, that aspect of it though, what's the best way? Is there any structured way of communicating to people that it would be a bit more, like, is there something that we can learn about how to communicate better?
Yeah, let me break it down a little bit. Some of the dirty tricks they do is they can intercept and reword text messages and emails.
We've had that.
Well, of course you have.
Yeah.
They
And
can
we've had
even,
fake phone, we've actually had fake phone calls as well.
yeah, and plenty of phone calls. But what they can't do is they can't really screw up a face-to-face meeting where people have their cell phones off and they can't hear what you're saying. And you may have to get down to just having a few one-on-one or 10-on-10, however many people you have that need to know. Just meeting face-to-face probably every couple of weeks and just ironing out anything, agreeing on your plans and understanding that you're being bombarded by really bad people doing really bad things who are trying to mess up your communications. One of the things the mafia used to do when they thought that the government was listening on their phone calls is they quit having phone calls and they started having meetings. In the Revolutionary War, they had to meet face to face or send secret messages that were encoded that no one else could understand because they didn't have all this modern technology. But the modern technology can be hacked, as you know, and it's not really secure. And because of where we are in this fight against good and evil, it's really a good time for people like the leaders of the movement to all get together somehow in a place that's not well advertised, but very well correct or protected by some of your trusted patriots, so that the leaders can all get back on the same page and lead Australia forward.
All right, Jim, that takes me to a little story, right? And a fair few years ago, when this thing started cracking, and we had Epic and that, and the Australian freedom movement actually come together, and was moving as one. Just you saying what you're saying there, we've got complacent because back then I was invited to a meeting, all right, with a lot of different people, all right. One that was there, I'll name, is my old mate Romeo Georges. Okay, so this meeting was so I didn't even know where I was going. I got a phone call. I'd been contacted the day before, said, would I be interested? And I'm going, yeah. And, my wife's going, well, who's it with? And I'm going, well, I know the bloke that's talking to me. That's all, and or I know of him, And anyway, the next day at 11 a.m., I got a phone call to tell me where to be. I was already on the road. I've been instructed to get on the road, head to the western suburbs of Sydney. 11 a.m., I get a phone call, and it says you'll receive a text in 2 seconds, delete it once read, right? And I wasn't allowed to put it in my GPS. Seriously, man, right? So I've shut, we've shut communication. I've gone to this place. Luckily, I know West Sydney, you know what I mean? I knew exactly sort of where I was going, and then, I know that club, So anyway, I drove in there. When we walked in, I was greeted. My phone I got to sit at the table. Then someone come up and they went, give me your phone. I went, there you go. He said, give me your earbuds. There, because I was wearing earbuds at the time. Anyway, I gone, yeah, there you go. And he's walked off with them, And I said, hey, what are you doing? He said, do you see anyone else with a phone? Now, what they done was they took all our phones off. They locked them. Now, my mate, his wife thought he'd got kidnapped because this was crazy times at the time. But that's how secret it is. We didn't even know where we were going or what we were doing, Jim. But we turned up in faith, and we had about 25 people sitting around a table. We had chefs there. It was put on the local club, you know what I mean, like Orthodox Church or something like that. I do know, but I'm not going to say. Anyway, yeah, so it was, a place like that, guys. So we were looked after, we were fed, and we had this meeting about how we could actually group up, move forward, do this, do that. And since that meeting, we have got very complacent. A lot of divisions come in. And I'm talking with people like, Tony Niklovic was there and different. I won't mention too many names, but I mean, if I mention a couple of names you were there, you'd actually blow out. But yeah, I'm not going to do that, all right, because that's not what this is about. But the thing was, I didn't even know where I was going, guys. I had no idea. I just went on good faith. Well, I got to go. I jumped in my ute and off I went. You know what I mean? And I remember sitting looking at the gate and I'm going, is this where I'm supposed to be? And there's a guy standing on the other side of the gate. You know what I mean? And then, I don't know, they must have made a phone call someone and gone, oh, what sort of car's Guru got? And when they said black V8, the gates opened up. You know what I mean? So I said to him, I was just sitting there looking, man. He went, yeah, we got the phone call to let you. So this is how actually detailed these guys were. They knew what car I had, and if I'd have driven my ute up there, that's what I was in. So it was very well organized. And as I said, there was a couple of big people up there that were actually involved in doing it. So maybe we have got to go back to that way of thinking, you know what I mean, and try and get communication between certain people, you know what I mean, so that we can actually make a move forward, Jim. But that's what this discussion here is about, guys. Listen, look what's happening in Ireland, guys. I'm saying it to you. Cazz is saying it to you every night on the news show. Do you want this shit on your shores? Because if you don't, now's the time to group up, right, and start and do something about it, because I'm telling you, Ireland is the test piece. Why? Because they are tough little mothers, all right? And they will work out their litmus paper on how much pressure they need to put on a country. Now, as far as they're concerned, they're gone for the Irish first. Why? Because if we can take out the Irish, the Aussies will be a pushover. They're convicts, mate. They'll be a pushover. We've got them. So I said this 6 months ago, that Ireland would be the first one hit hard. Why? Because they're tough as shit. And if they can break them down, it gives them a good example of how much pressure they need on other societies to bring them to their knees. So, guys, we're in it, man. We're in it. And this is a very important meeting here this morning.
Well, one of the things I would also encourage you to do, and it's not just because my last name's O'Connor, but pray for the Irish. Because if they don't beat the Irish, they may not go anywhere else.
Yeah.
And
we were
if you actually saw these evil bastards, the evil demons, if you actually saw Satan like I did, and you saw what he really looked like, you would be somewhere between disgusted and laughing your ass off. Seriously.
You want to tell us about that, Jim? Because I haven't heard this story.
Yeah, go. I'll get a coffee while you're doing it, Jim. Okay. I love this story, man. Yeah.
I'll take you back to a book they intentionally left out of the Bible because they didn't want us to know things.
Enoch.
No, first book of Adam and Eve.
Ah, okay.
And the best version of it you can get for nothing is Rutherford B. Platt, Platt, reads the entire first book on YouTube for free. And he is one of the foremost translators of the original manuscripts the originals that they could find. It was obviously passed down generation to generation, but the manuscript that he translated was from 500 BC. And then you tie when Adam and Eve saw what Satan actually looked like, they never sinned again. He had absolutely no power over them. And there's a couple of hints in the Bible about it. In Isaiah, it says, "Is this the one who made the whole world tremble?" With the idea behind, you got to be shitting me. This is him. And Jesus also tells us about Gehenna, where the worm never dies. And the devil enters into Judas before the betrayal. What entered into Judas was an earworm, a parasite. All Satan is a parasite. These assholes that have sold their souls to a parasite.
I love that.
And he is a parasite. He may project like this big, huge monster or this marvelous looking human being. There's a story from the 800s. Abbot Saint Leutfridus, Leuit, Fridus, Fridis, who was running an abbey in France. And he had a bunch of new trainee priests in the chapel, and they were getting terrorized by Satan in a human shell. And this is religious history that they should teach us. Leutfridus went into the chapel, ordered all the monks in training out, and told them to lock the doors behind them. He went mano a mano with Satan in a human shell, beat him to a pulp, beat him out of the human shell, was wailing on him, and Satan had a call to Jesus to be saved. And Jesus allowed him to escape through the steeple. These assholes, and I mean assholes, who are working for the devil, trying to take away everybody's rights and freedom, have no idea that they're working for the worm. And this worm, when they go to hell for serving him, is going to be the worm that eats them and shits them out every day in hell while they're baking in the heat. And that's how stupid all this stuff is. And I think it's important to call out their absolute stupidity. I mean, you really want to work for a parasite?
Jim,
A
take us to
blood-sucking parasite?
Jim, while I'm finishing my coffee off here, right? I want you to take him to Obama. All right. And, we're in the middle of this, guys, and we've been told in the good book what's meant to happen and what's going to happen. Okay. Here it is. So let's go by scripture and see what it says about who this, and I believe there's a lot of, Antichrist. It's, when you use the term widely, Antichrist is anything that's against Christ. Okay. But let's have a look at this identity, Jim. You want to go into that for a minute, mate?
Yeah, I'll be really happy to do that because I think it's very important. This is chapter 10 of Luke's gospel. You really can't see it, but you might be able to see Luke there. St. Luke. Verse 18. And he said, and this is to them, and this is Jesus talking. I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven. This is Strong's Concordance. Every word that's in the Bible is in Strong's Concordance. And some of the original Bible texts are in different languages, not English. Believe it or not, Jesus did not speak English when he walked the earth. He could have spoke English because he knows everything, but he didn't. And I'm going to get to the right place here. And where I'm pointing here is word 1299 in the Hebrew section of Strong's Concordance. And it's Baraq, and it means lightning. I saw Satan fall like lightning, like Barak. Word 1116 in the Hebrew section, and I'm pointing to it, is Bamah, Bama, the highest part of heaven. O is a connecting word. So Jesus actually said, I saw Satan fall like Barack Obama. Now, if that doesn't identify who the Antichrist is, I don't know what does. But I use Strong's Concordance for understanding the words. And I read it right out of the Holy Bible. So ask yourselves, why aren't your priests and your ministers and your pastors teaching you this? Are they trying to keep you dumb, or they do not know what they're doing? Identifying the Antichrist would be very important. Now, is there a chance that Obama might not be the Antichrist? I'm sure, it's like 1 in a million, but, Jesus named him by name. Just like in Isaiah 45. Got to see if I can find that. I never mark things ahead of time because I never know what I'm going to talk about.
So the point of me bringing that in here, guys, is, we all need to get educated and know, because, I do believe, and Jim's going to back me up here, that the best weapon that we have here is prayer.
Yes,
right?
It is.
And it's prayer for our enemies. Right? It's prayer for the people we don't agree with. Right? And it's a really hard thing to do. I'm struggling with this. Me and Jim done a show the other day. Or we had a chat the other day. And, we said that this is what we're going to do. And Cazz is stuck with it. Cazz has been choice. I'm hesitant. And that's cool. I know I'm going to have to cross the line, and I'm going to have to do what I got to do, because God's going to make me do it. Okay. But I'm struggling, guys. to actually pray for that particular instance, because that particular instance really hurt me bad, and it was a damn straight lie. So, you know, I'm really in the soul going, I'm a street fighter. You know what I mean? I'm going, what? You want me to just drop me gloves and, you know, put my hands up? How do I do that? You know, I don't know how to do that. I'm not trained to do that. I'm trained to throw the next one, you know, and finish the job. So this is a very difficult spot for some of us to be in, Jim, you know, which is going on in our Australian movement here. So, yeah.
Yeah, I just want to give one more Bible example.
Yeah, go for it. The Bible's the thing.
Because I think it'll help some people. The Bible's a good thing and a bad thing because a lot of people misuse it. This was written almost 1,000 years before Christ. It's chapter 45 of Isaiah the prophet. Thus says the Lord to my anointed Cyrus by name. Cyrus. Cyrus wasn't born for 200 years. Whose right hand I have taken hold of to subdue the nations before his face. We're talking about Cyrus the Great, the one who sent the Jews back to Israel from Babylon with the instructions to rebuild the temple.
The temple, yeah.
By name. So there's Obama's in there by name, and Cyrus is in there by name. And when you understand, if you understand
sorry, go.
If you understand to read verse 1, then 5, then 3, then 2, then 4, it totally changes the time frame of Cyrus the Great from ancient times to modern times. And what's the first thing that Trump did when he got into office? He made Jerusalem the capital of Israel. And if you know about how blessed and irreverent Cyrus was his whole life, and Trump was his whole life, you can see that Trump is the modern Cyrus the Great, which is why when they tried to kill him about a week ago, they couldn't, because he is protected by God.
After that little shot there, mate, and then getting one in the ear and turning in a split second, I actually believe it. I had totally different thoughts on this thing, Jim, but the more it's come out and the more you're looking at it, that was the hand of God, man.
3 shooters, 11 bullets.
So we've seen.
And a Secret Service and an FBI and a CIA that totally stood down and let it happen.
And a ladder and an AR-15 crossing a paddock, you know, to head to a shed.
Hey, I have an AR-15. I love it. You really got to be a bayonet fighter to miss anything with it. It's so easy to fire. I mean, you can put an M16, the military version of it, you can put the buttstock in your groin, put it on rock and roll, and you still won't be singing high notes. When I ran rifle ranges for the 8th Infantry Division as a company commander in the 8th Infantry Division, because my company did such good training that half the people that went through fired expert. And very few just made it like marksmen. I mean, the marksman, if you went to battle, you would not want a marksman in your foxhole with you because shit, they got to put the bayonet on to fire, to hit anything. You know, they can't fire with a shit. Firing expert with an AR-15 is as easy as eating a piece of apple pie. And this sucker was only 150 yards away, and in a way he essentially missed. Thank God he was inept. And there's a wonderful general who led the revolt against the Mexican government in the about 1926, General Enrique Gorosieta, who before the big battles would tell his men may fire the bullets, but God determines where they land.
Yeah.
And when he started saying that, he was an atheist. By the time it was all said and done, he'd become a Christian.
Yep. Let me answer this question. Guru, you were shitting on Trump. Nah, sorry, I'm going to correct you, Lee. what I saw was a lot of inconsistencies, right, in the initial, part of what went on. So what I was saying is, I don't believe this, you know what I mean? Because this has happened, that's happened, that's happened. There's too many holes. Let's let the dust settle. Now, I've slowly, you know what I mean, as I've seen the information come out and I've seen more stuff come out and I've had discussions with people on Facebook and on Spaces. I've actually been with people on Spaces who were at the rally, right, and spoken to them. My word, it was a hit on Trump. Did I get it wrong? Well, no. I said that there was plenty of inconsistencies and I don't know what the hell's gone on here. And it doesn't matter about whether I'm wrong or not. But the point is, none of us knew what was going on, man. If you stuck with Trump and, they've shot him. Well, I had to look at all avenues. You know what I mean? And all avenues things weren't adding up. This was crazy. But sure enough, guys, it was an attempt. And I do believe it was the hand of God that has brought him through it. So, I just get that one out of the way.
And the thing about it is, too, we've been trained to actually say that we're flip-flopping or we're backtracking if we change track. But that's what intelligent people do. They go with the information. They go, okay, well, I was wrong about that. We don't. And
you got to play the devil's advocate, Cazz. You got to play the devil's advocate.
So we've changed our track and we've changed our minds millions of times because of the information that comes forward. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's the way it should be because,
that's what you call analysis.
Yeah,
that's right.
And here's one that nobody's mentioned yet. You have a tall building with a clear shot at the stage. Why isn't your own sniper up there on that building?
Well, he was. He was up there.
No,
it was one of theirs.
Not the enemy sniper. Why isn't one of your own snipers up there making sure that there's no bad people in the crowd? How do you miss a building that's taller, that has a direct line of sight to the stage, and you don't have a person up there?
How do you change the secret staff security? You know what I mean? The whole thing without and bringing a chick from PepsiCo.
Hey, even a CEO from a corporate company and a thing like that would have security watching that place from that place because it had the best view of the entire thing was where that kid was standing trying to shoot Trump. The government should have had their best person, their best protective sniper on that very same spot this kid was. How you miss that is you don't miss that. You intentionally ignore it because you're setting something up.
And the point is, guys, here that we had to get other information out and about and things had to play out before we got the truth. Okay, because we were getting all this misinformation, this, that, the other, And as I say, my job is not to, as Shree just put, and that's a good point, Shree. Some people do have a knowingness as well that guides them. And I will totally agree with that, Shree. I'll put that up for people.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's true. My problem is I'm running the news show and I'm trying to look at both sides of the argument. And I'm trying to work out that if I'm going to come out here and give you people some information on the news, that I've freaking got it nearly right. I might be missing a couple of bits, but I've had a good go at what was going on. So that's why I sometimes don't go with that discernment. You know what I mean? I would have, loved to have run in and gone, they've tried to kill Trump. They've done this, they've done that. But me being who I am, I go, okay, let's play the devil's advocate here. How did they do it? Hang on, I can smell a rat here. And I said straight off the bat, I smell a rat. Right, but we didn't know what rat there was or what size the rat was or how many rats there were. Now we actually know.
What is the first thing a sniper does?
I wouldn't know.
I don't know. Just the wind.
No. First thing a sniper does is plan their escape.
You mean the water tower? And what's come out? Was that Tony Saruga?
The grassy knoll.
No, I think it was the sewer that goes right to the river and out the river and gone. Because his head got knocked up and back. And if you draw a line from that, there's one of those sewer places, in the side of the street where a something like a 15 or AR-16 could point right at President Kennedy, hit him with a frangible bullet, because it wasn't the way his head came apart, it was not a
Oh, we've lost sound.
Yeah, you
excuse me.
talking about JFK?
I'm sorry, I got interrupted by a phone call.
Oh, you're right. Cool.
But if you look at what happened to President Kennedy, and my grandmother O'Connor and his mother Rose were first cousins. So I have a little bit of a family connection there. I'll be upfront about it. His head got snapped back and his brains came out the back of his head. A full metal jacket bullet goes right through. It just bores a hole in and comes right out. A frangible bullet comes in, it explodes out in thousands of pieces. That's what happened to JFK. The Russian weapon that they said Lee Harvey Oswald used did not have a frangible bullet or a caliber that could be a frangible bullet. The bullet that went through the back of him and into Governor Conley was a full metal jacket bullet. It was just a hard piece of brass that didn't break apart. It gets bent up, but it stays in one piece and it just goes until it stops. A frangible bullet goes in, explodes, and really makes a mess. And that's the type of bullet that killed him. Two different bullets, two different directions, and the government is still lying about it. And there's enough acoustics to say there were more than 3 bullets shot. And even the best of the Navy SEALs that have tried to fire that weapon in 6.5 seconds at a still target can't do it. So this guy who's a bayonet fighter, a marksman, I mean, oh geez. If you go to battle with a marksman, you tell him to use his bayonet not to give the position away, and you hope he's on somebody else's flank and not yours. Because that sucker will get you killed. They're that bad a shot. And this kid was a total idiot, but he was probably a patsy because there were 3 different weapons fired. The most obvious spot to have a spotter was where this kid was. So it was a staged attempt to kill him because they can't beat him at the ballot. His message is so good, they have to do dirty tricks. And they're doing the same thing to Australia 1.
Yeah, I was going to come back into Australia. Yeah, at least, yeah. They're doing the same thing to our freedom movement guys, whether it's Australia 1 or whoever, it's happening.
Yeah, the freedom movement in Australia is a beautiful movement. Rights come from God. They don't come from government. Government is supposed to represent us, not control us. They're trying to control and destroy, hurt our kids, get us stoned on bad things, shorten our lives. They're doing everything they can, really, to wipe out the human race. Oh, and I know some will say, well, that sounds very extreme. Okay? Then look at the truth about carbon dioxide. There's 0.4% carbon dioxide in this planet. One of my friends has a beach house in Ocean City, Maryland. And lovely woman. She hasn't been able to go in the water, and it's well past the 4th of July because the water's too damn cold. The water's too bad cold in Maryland in the middle of July. It ain't global warming, I can tell you that. That's absurd. And when you have 0.2% carbon dioxide in the air, all life on this planet dies. Carbon dioxide, this is grammar school science now. Carbon dioxide and sunlight are what plants need for photosynthesis.
That's right.
And photosynthesis produces oxygen.
Mm.
You know, what we humans and all the other mammals need, oxygen.
Mm.
Now, can you tell us, when you understand this, and that Greenland used to be so warm that you could grow vegetables on it instead of the big iceberg that it is now?
Yeah.
Can you really honestly say that the world is heating up and these people who are trying to kill you with vaccines and global warming and putting you into 15-minute cities and playing the Hunger Games on you, do you really think they have your best interest in mind? Or to
Not
someone
really.
who tells you, like the freedom movement, that you're a sovereign soul with the right of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, who do you think's on your side?
Mm. Jim, with the, can you go into self-governance for a bit? Because Australians we came from convict beginnings, and we have been partially socialist, like a lot of the way, like the government provided for the electricity and things like that. And that actually did work well for a long time. And then a lot of corruption came in and we've become a nanny state. Then what happened is when the lockdowns happened, there was severe violence from the police towards our people. And like we've never really seen that before. You know, like the level of violence was so extreme, and I think a lot of our people were in shock. I certainly was, and like, you know, and then they turned their weapons, like military grade weapons, on us in Canberra in the protest. You know,
Kids,
and so
everybody, man.
yeah, and so I think a lot of people have got this
And Jim,
apprehension, PTSD or something.
Jim, you were saying the other day, you know, like 9 weeks ago, Jim nearly left us again, guys. All right, he got a chance to, well, the deep state give him a whacking. But I want to explain why I never got affected down at and I only worked this out from Jim. All right, why me and Mel didn't cop too much of an effect at the grounds at Parliament House. Why do you think that was?
You had to be
Me
grounded.
and Mel never wore shoes, mate. We were in barefoot all day long, every day of Canberra. We never had shoes on. We were grounded, guys. The DEW has trouble having an effect if you're grounded. Okay, so again, from Jim's testimony to me, from what happened to him 9 weeks ago, me and Mel worked out why we got hit in a motel room. We've been hit here on the boat. We've been hit in numerous places. They never got us on the grounds, guys, because we were grounded. We were in bare feet every day down there. I was on stage in bare feet. You all know it. You know, I was in board shorts, T-shirt, and bare feet.
Excuse me just a second. I want to show you something.
Yeah, go, Jim. So, guys, this comes back to, Cazz, how did El Salvador get their country back when Tucker asked the president? We prayed. Now, here's the glitch. Can we bring the Australian movement together to actually get all us leaders and that together in a show, and we all just start praying with all our people going out to our channels? Yeah, 2 seconds, Jim, right? And start praying about how we do this, and we start praying for everyone. Same thing here, Jim. Look, grounding shoes, mate.
These are not grounding shoes. These are regular Merrill walking shoes. This is a cow magnet. It's the kind of thing you put in a cow, it stays in their stomach and it collects all the heavy metals so you have good meat. I have it in a little holder on my left shoe. So when I have to wear shoes, this is what I do, and this grounds me. I had a friend visiting me last week, and she got hit with a dew, and she was as dazed as I was. And I had my shoe on with this, so it went right to here. I took her outside, had her take her shoes off. She grounded right away, and she was fine. So there's more than one way to skin this cat.
Yep. Yep.
And all this is a pepper spray holder that I put on my shoe and a cow magnet. $20.
There you
And
go.
I'm safe.
That's like It's the ingenuity of people that I always find amazing. That's like the drones, the infrared drones in, I think it was in Afghanistan, and the locals worked out how to get around it, and they
Yeah.
realised that with a $2, I think it was what's those blankets that Dave, those blankets, the thermal blankets, $2 thermal blanket, they could actually
Yeah.
just basically lie down, pull it over themselves, and the drone couldn't see them.
Yeah.
Yeah, grounding
And,
sheets in your bed, guys. We're sleeping on grounding sheets now. You know what I mean? Thanks
Yeah.
to one very, very kind person in the freedom movement. Neil, you are an absolute legend, man. And yeah, stop spoiling me and Mel, please. But I take
Oh,
you blessing, mate. Thank you.
a little piece of copper on the
Yep.
wrist.
Yep,
is
does
another
say
thing
Mel
that
wears
helps.
one. Yep.
And I don't want you to think I'm taking total credit for this. This is based on an idea from Abby Jones, who's a world-class horse trainer and rider, who trained a lot of Peter Jackson's horses and riders. And she has a farm south of here with about 25 rare breed horses, which just amazing. I came up with the better holder, but she came up with the idea for the magnet in the shoe.
Well,
And,
yeah.
you know, a man and woman talking together as equals come up with good ideas. What a concept, huh?
Yep. Nah, like all the little free energy things running around out there now, Jim. No one needs to be paying for electricity, mate. You know what I mean? We just need to move and motivate and get going. But Jim, I just spoke about Tucker Carlson when he asked the president of El Salvador, because we're gonna try and keep this under the hour, Cazz, to get it on Instagram and that, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so right. Tucker asked the president of El Salvador, I'll repeat myself again. What did you do? How did you get your country back? And he simply said, we prayed. Now, what can we do,
Prayer's the
Australia?
answer.
Can we get all of our freedom movement together? Can we get a big space going? And can we just go into prayer for a few hours, guys? Even a few hours. All right, I think it could go a lot longer than that. But do you understand how much time the enemy puts into shilling you and doxing you and putting spells and hexes on you? 24 hours a day, these guys will pray, and they'll pray for 4 days in a row, guys. That's how committed they are to their God. And he's a fake fucking bullshit God. Excuse my French. So where are we, guys? You know, prayer is very powerful. How can we get this Australian movement into prayer and actually, you know, be that difference and show, again, just like El Salvador, that, we just prayed and God put his hand on us. We are the great southern land of the Holy Spirit, guys. Think about it. That's who we are. That's what we were named, the great southern land of the Holy Spirit. How about we start friggin' using it?
Let me give you a motto. Without prayer, you don't have a prayer.
Yeah, good point. Yep.
And, you know, God help me is a nice prayer. Thank you, God, is a great prayer. And there's the shepherd's prayer. And this is humor, but it's still a good prayer. The prayer that Alan Shepard, the first American that went around the earth in orbit, said, "Dear Lord," and his words to this effect, "Please don't let me mess this up." But he used the F-bomb instead, but I don't want anybody to think I'm going to say that in a prayer, though I have.
Too true.
But
okay. Oh, go on. Sorry, Jim, go.
The F-bomb is, the original meaning of the F-bomb isn't so bad. It after the bubonic plague, when the population was really down, the one thing that a king got right was he told people to start fornicating under consent of the king, F-U-C-K. That's where we get the word from. He wanted people to get busy and repopulate Britain.
There you go. Bit of history.
You know, and after this, after all the people that are going to die and not being able to have kids from the jabber, the rest of us are going to have to get busy to repopulate the earth.
Yep.
So,
All right, Cazz, bring it in.
so good days are ahead for those of us who didn't get suckered.
Cazz, what would
thank
you
you.
like to say? Yeah, in like closing, and just putting down your thoughts on this. Let's get back to the Australia where we are, Cazz. Right, as well as I do. You know what we're
It's
doing.
important.
And where we are. This is the important part of the show, guys, and what we're on about. All right, how do we bring Australia together? All right, look.
Number one is prayer.
Number one is prayer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think just what Jim said is just pretty spot on. And I think we probably should have been doing it because we've had individual prayer, but we haven't had corporate prayer as such. So, and that's really important. So,
do we know? I don't know. I'm going to look into El Salvador. I wonder how many of their country they actually had together. How much was the population, Jim, that actually made the change? Was it 10%, 20%? What was it? I don't know. But I need to probably look into that.
But as important as freedom is, and as smart and wonderful as the Australian people are, I don't think it'll take much to convince them that they need to pray every day.
Yeah. Too right.
And if there's anything I can do to help that, I'll be more than happy to.
No, thanks. Yeah, we'll just keep the Americans in prayer with us, mate. You know what our problems are over here. The devil's got in, right? Yeah. I've had to stand in truth. That's created a few problems. Now we're looking for a solution to the problems, Jim, for the freedom movement, mate. So that's where we are in Australia.
There's two things that you can never tolerate. You can't tolerate them taking away your freedom of speech and your freedom of religion. And you can't tolerate them taking away your weapons. Because once they take your weapons away, then they have total control. And they're supposed to serve you, not control you. There's no such thing as an elite person on this earth. We're all children of the Creator, God. No one of us is any better than the other. There's no such thing as elite. That's all bullshit. Absolute bullocks, I guess, is some people in the other English-speaking countries say, but it's total bull. We're all equal in the eyes of God. We should be all equal in the eyes of our laws if our laws are just. Our laws are not just. Our politicians are not just. They're greedy parasites who feed off us and sell our wealth and sell our freedom away to people who work for the devils. And, we can say, forgive them, Father, for they know not who they work for. But if you work for the devil in this world, you get to live with them in the next. And that needs to be something that everybody understands. And prayer, my roommate and I won't say his name because his poor widow doesn't need a lot of extra attention. We got attacked by Satan one night when we were plebes at West Point. And we started saying a bunch of Hail Marys with the rosary. And every time we said a Hail Mary, it was like this demon was getting scourged at the pillar. Satan himself was getting scourged by a prayer. He can't handle honest prayer. He has to flee if there are honest prayers. So if you all get together and actually pray together like brothers and sisters fighting for a wonderful cause, freedom, the most wonderful cause there is, the best, greatest gift that God ever gave mankind was free will, freedom. You can't love without freedom. Freedom is when you choose to love someone and that person chooses to love you back. That's the kind of relationship we should have with our spouses, our good friends, and the Lord. And if you have those kind of relationships, you don't want anybody being terrorized, especially by a government. And just this kind of stuff should unite all of you to put aside small differences for the big picture. A husband and wife, for example, two different genders, two different upbringings, two different point of views, can't agree. It's impossible for a husband and wife to agree on everything. But they can always validate each other's opinions with respect. That's called good communication. You may, one of the leaders of one of the parts of the freedom movement may see something as a number one priority, and another leader might see it as a number two priority, because they're just two different people, but they're both important. And if they work together, they can help each other get number one and number two for each of them.
Yep.
And it's not about ego. Ego is an evil thing. It's about doing what's right. And when you pray, God blesses you with discernment and understanding, so that when you have this understanding, you know the best ways to proceed forward. And there's nothing wrong with a two-pronged attack either.
Yep.
With united brothers and sisters.
All right, well, they've put in here, Jim, 2 p.m. So people, one says come 2 p.m. every day. So let's run with that, guys. If that's just been put in by Eva Zoo, I'm happy with that. 2 p.m. every day. And maybe we, whoever can opens a space at 2:30. 2 p.m. is it? Yeah, 2 p.m. every day. Someone opens up a space and name it the Island Space Prayer Group, so everyone knows. I can do the first couple, okay? And let's go, guys, and let's do what we can. Because I'll tell you what, we're told in the good book, if you've got a problem with someone, you go to where the problem was, you go to the person. Okay, well, we done that. That was done. Yeah. All right. So then if you get nowhere, you go back with a couple of people. So that was more or less done in a I'd say, some sort of roundabout fashion. You know what I mean? Then if you get no response, you revert to prayer. But we're told to do the other things first, guys. That is to go in front. You know what I mean? So I believe those couple of things have been ticked off. So guess what, guys? You want your Australian freedom movement back to some place where we can move it forward. I suggest we all start praying, and we all start maybe forgiving each other for whatever's been done, right? And we move together as a corporate entity. So I don't know how we're going to do that. I know God can do it, but he'll only do it when the people are ready to do it. So are you ready to do it, guys? Do you want your country like Ireland, or you want to get your country back? We got 3 minutes. Let's wrap it up. Cazz, go.
No, I'm done. I've got an outro here queued, so you guys finish.
Okay. Righto, Jim. Parting words to Australia, 30 seconds.
I love Australia. I've been there. And if I wasn't an American, I'd be an Australian. And it's not saying that Australia is not as good as America. It's where all my family is. But as far as a cool place, a place I really love, I absolutely love Australia. And to see Australia in the terrible situation it is heartbreaking. Some of my idea of the toughest men in the world are some of the Aussies I met in the Australian Army. Boy, I love those guys. They were total kick-ass soldiers. And I know one of them, a guy named Brett Barrett, my mother's maiden name was Barrett. So far enough back in Ireland, we're related. And, you talk about it, Australia being a land of criminals. The Barrett side of my family were all in the IRA, and they escaped to America. So, we're kindred that way. My father's side of the family was one of the signers of the Declaration of Independence.
You got some history, bro.
Yeah, so I understand being kind of rowdy, but you can never give your weapons away, because then you're at their mercy. So when you get your freedom back, make sure you get weapons.
Get our weapons back too.
To protect yourself from the government.
All right, Australia, go and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you very much, Jim. We're just going to try and keep it under where we have to get it on a couple of programs.
I'm going to offer a mass up tonight for Australia.
Thank you. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Cazz.
Talk
great
soon, mate.
seeing you.
Thanks, Jim. Here we are, leading ourselves.